we want to start shows and we then go live and then we start,
I think we're making this more complicated than we need to.
I well, yeah, I guess
Occasionally you just jump, right? You don't need to warn people or
it's like
what's going on.
it's like a cold pool. You just jump in because you can't really just put your foot in there. You have to do the whole thing. And
I mean, because are you that person that like eases into the water? Is that the game you play?
I will dip a toe in the water and then throw myself in because that's
Okay.
just literally because there's no sense of prolonging the torture. It's going to happen, right?
See,
so you might as well shock the system.
If one little bit of me touches the water and then I get a feeling for like, oh, that's how cold it is, then I won't jump. So I've got to go straight to jump. I can't tease anything. It's just got this is go time, and we're gonna just get it over with like a Band-Aid.
It's gonna have to be like a Band-Aid. Absolutely.
What? Oh, well, we seem to be live. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Best of Our Week, the show where
Absolutely.
TK and I just kind of get a chance to chill out, to hang out, catch up on what our favorite sort of tech of the week has been. Get to speak with you fine folks. We already saw a few folks that were hanging out in the lobby before the show started, and you know what? It's definitely been a pretty chill week with some fun announcements, some fun videos from both of our channels, and some really engaged conversations. I don't know about you, but this has been a really good week for, I think, some of the nitty grittier kinds of chats as we're getting used to a lot of the products that have been out for a little while and some software updates have hit.
We're not in the middle of the bang 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 concept.
Actually, a second to catch our breath.
yes, and I felt. It felt a little bit weird. I'm not gonna deny that. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Was there? Did I forget about a phone? Was there an embargo somewhere? I'm checking the emails. No. It was an Apple thing. Apple took the cake, I guess I would say. But I do want to say this. I think we also have a way actually for us to get back into checking status updates. So first foremost, did you or did you not receive MR2?
Is it out?
Yeah, it's been all over the news. Yes, I didn't get it. So
I literally checked like 2 days ago, just like, oh, let me see if it's on there. So now it's our This Week on TicWatch Watch.
On TicWatch Watch.
System updates.
System up to date. Yeah, mine says, it still says MR1. So MR2's been out. It was released.
Prophecy versions.
Yeah, probably still says MR1. If it says up to date, yeah.
Yeah, I'm up to date. So you're still on MR1 also, though.
I'm still on. Okay. Yes. Neither one of us got the got to enjoy this one first. The good folks over at XDA already posted I think an article on it. I'm assuming they were, so essentially it's going up in batches. It's supposed to go full 100% about day 5 or something, which hopefully by Friday. But yeah. It's almost here. I know you and I, we talked about this many times.
Did we talk about? Did you reach out to any of the folks at Mobvoi? Because I got a really candid reply from one of their PR people saying like, "Yeah, we're dog fooding it right now. Honestly, the patch update that we put out fixed way more than MR2 does." And I mean, I don't really think people are going to notice a huge performance difference after what we already fixed. And you're like, oh, that is a very forthright.
That is very much like very well. I mean, they did. I mean, realistically, Mobvoi is one of the very few companies that literally is trying to improve the experience. They're not just trying to give you updates.
Android Wear is TicWatch.
It is. I think.
Do you ever get to play with the first gen? I still bring it out.
Like
the very
you're talking about
original TicWatch. It was the silver up top, black plastic body, and it had the tan leather straps. Okay, I still bring it out because the 4-direction swipe that we take for granted now on Android Wear, Wear OS, was originally developed by them as a custom UI for Android Wear.
Okay. I never got a chance to play with their system. I started with Android Wear back in the Moto. Remember the Moto 360, the original, the OG?
Yeah.
The OG.
Flat tire.
Yep. Everybody bagged on that flat tire. It's like, why couldn't you make it circular? I loved it. And then, of course, the Huawei watch was also one of my favorite, which I still have somewhere as just an iconic design. Just to, like, seriously. We still haven't seen that many.
My watch and my watch 2. I think I liked the first Huawei watch better.
They haven't been able to. I mean, I think it was the only one that released with Android Wear or Wear OS or back. I think at the time it's called just it just called Android Wear. It wasn't called Wear OS. I think they didn't change the name. And I haven't been able to. Yeah, I mean, like, they've released many watches now, but they're primarily, or at least I feel like,
more fitnessy,
more fitness focused, very light on the notification. I mean, seriously, I mean, if we have to kind of compare that, I think it's very similar to what we're seeing right now from like Oneplus. It's a proprietary OS running on their own watch, long battery life, typical of what we see with fitness trackers. I like the TicWatch. The TicWatch Pro, the 3 Pro is definitely like you truly feel that watch was an improvement over last year. Even if you've used the one from in the middle of the year when they first put out the first 1 gig of RAM on them, you notice the improvement. But then jumping it to 4100, that just literally leapfrogged it over. So
yeah, I had great experiences with the Pro LTE, which is the one that bumped up to 1 gig.
Yep, that's when they started.
Pro 3 has been like a completely, I mean, again, for all of the sort of, I guess it's good, but kinds of conversations that I've had about fossils, where, you can get them on sale. Maybe it's worth it. Or, you know what, like, this is fine. It's okay. Wear OS has been a completely different animal on the Pro 3. The TicWatch Pro 3 with this new 4100. So it's definitely spruced things up a bit.
Oh, for sure. And you know what? I just realized something. I am so sorry for this. Okay, so first and foremost, ER is saying, morning TK and Juan. It's about 4 a.m. in the morning in the UK, and he's not saying very, very, very focused, mostly because it's sahur. So he's about to start fasting.
Oh,
and Ramadan Kareem. I did not notice. Happy Ramadan Kareem. Yeah, I am so sorry. I did not realize that you're fasting, and that is really iconic because as I was talking to Juan, I just literally broke my fast, and you're about to start yours. So yeah, it's just. Oh my God, I love it. I love the internet. I just absolutely love it. But yes, everybody else as well. Michael, Cochrane. Sorry, you always do the names better.
And we got Vince and Vazikos and
Andrew, Mr. Fat Produce Wallace.
Oh, we got Ted. Ted's telling us to rock on also.
Yes. So and Aditya, of course. Aditya as well, rocking it with us. Yes, Ramadan Mubarak. Yeah, of course. And then it is definitely, like I said, so wearables for me are always exciting because they're able to push certain functionalities. Like I said, we were in a lull with the Wear OS for such a long time. And you kept getting watches. You get different creators, different companies, so on. But at the end, the experience was very much, like my thing. Because I feel like everybody skipped the concept of adding more RAM. Everybody, for some reason, was comfortable with 512, and then of course, TicWatch does 1 gig, and then suddenly like, oh hey, wait a minute, Wear OS is like, I like this. So. Yeah. If you're thinking about it, and then you're going to love this part too. I was finishing my taxes today. You're not going to love that part of the story because it's never a good picture.
That's always a blast.
Yeah, it's a blast for my tax guy. For me, it's it's the bring out the checkbook. Anyways, we were talking about smartphones and so on, and he's a Samsung guy. He loves Samsung. He's like, I've been really bummed because I haven't been able to find lately any smartphone that is a smaller form factor but still very capable. And the first thing that's popped into my head, dude, Pixel 5. I told him, dude, you got to go check out Pixel. You're going to be in love with the form factor because it's a smaller form factor. It's almost full display. Gets the latest updates. Keeps getting better as time goes on. Google's adding features. Can you believe that? Features onto the phone. So he was really stoked. He's going to go down and check it out at the. I think it was like a Best Buy or T-Mobile thing. He wants to check it out, but I'm like, totally. I told him I've never felt strong enough about recommending anything to anybody as far when it comes to a smartphone. If you want that form factor, it's not the 4A 5G, it's the 5. And you're going to get that 90 hertz and you're going to feel the improvements over what you're jumping on. I think he has a Galaxy S5, if I'm not mistaken, like an old.
Wow, that's a good run.
But that's typical though, really. Yeah. I mean, if you really think about it, not everybody, I mean, he was jokingly saying, like, I can't believe that the brand new iPhone is like $1,500. And I'm like, well, it's like $1,300. But then when you add taxes, I said, yeah, you're pretty much there. And he's right. And he's like, he said, I would never pay that. I would never go out.
all of your advice is obsolete because the iPhone is now in purple.
Dang
So
it.
the new iPhone is already in some reviewers' hands.
They
The
copied
iPhone
that
12
from
mini.
from Sony because they heard Sony was going to bring the purplish color
And
into the US.
Sony copied that from OnePlus with Thunder Purple.
Yeah, but we can't put two underdogs against each other, bro. We got to be
Oh,
fair.
that's right. Because then Samsung copied all of them
And
on the
created black.
S21 and
Created the black.
Thanos in purple and gold.
Oh, that's
So
right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. You know what? Exactly. So
it's almost like none of these companies invented the color purple.
No, but I will say this much though: the color, the Thanos purple on the S21 does look nice.
It's sharp. No, it looks
It
great.
is. It's absolutely eye catching. That was one of the reasons why I picked it. I didn't feel like the black or any of the other colors were going to do it.
I loved it the first time I saw it on the 6T. You know, like again, color is so much fun to play with, and you know,
You
there
mean
have been
the
so many phones.
thunder
I
from
need
no, not that under thunder purple.
different kind of thunder.
Different thunder.
No, I really do want to like because you know, my mom went from
Love it.
she got a Galaxy S5
Purple.
at launch.
Mhm.
Yeah, Purple Heart.
Purple heart.
My mom had a Galaxy S5 since it launched, and she flipped. So when the OnePlus 7 came out,
Mhm.
she got a OnePlus 6T.
Yeah.
So she went from Galaxy S5 to OnePlus 6T, and she's still on an OP6T.
Mhm.
So I, you know, it's one of those like I keep toying with. I really should go back, crack out my Thunder Purple, and shoot like a revisit video
Yeah.
on that phone, just because it's just something so charming about
When
that
when
era.
purple is done right. That's I think that's the title of that video. When
And
purple is
it was always the shame of like, well, I've got to keep it in a case. I just
it's one of
gotta.
those smart. I mean, that, by the way, that's the one I took with me to the Fox show. I don't know if you remember that one time when I took the purple on purpose because of that color. Like it's serious.
It
You don't
looks
even
good.
need to know what phone it is. You look at that, you're like, what is that? Wait, they do gradient? What with purple? Yeah, no. OnePlus seriously, like as far as collaboration with and different colors and stuff like that, like the McLaren edition, you know, OnePlus 7T Pro McLaren edition, the longest name ever on a phone. Sorry, OnePlus 7T Pro 5G McLaren edition because the US got the 5G variant. I love that the orange, the papaya color, the McLaren. So they do really nice
Well, and
collaboration.
even like that smoke gray gradient.
Absolutely, and the green one that they did. No, I'm a big fan of their stuff, but the Thunder Purple has not been like seriously. Nothing has hit that same level. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no.
Well, but I'm glad to hear someone was sort of at least amenable. Like when the Pixel 3a came out, there was kind of a push. I was kind of talking to a bunch of my family, like, hey, I know you need a new phone. You should really check this phone out. It's covering the basics really well. For some of my family, the other flip side of that was iPhone SEs. You know,
I would, yeah, I recommend. I mentioned the SE to him, and he's like, "I'm not an iPhone user." I said, "Then hey, you're literally in."
And especially coming from a Galaxy S5, that's still going to feel like a stonking good upgrade.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Going to a Pixel 5.
Like seriously, when I told him, you said if there's anything you try, you just need to go down to the store and try it out, check it out. Because I said the only other option I would have recommended was the Xperia 5 Mark II. The Xperia 5 Mark II. Yeah. But I told him, I said it's a slightly longer form factor. It's thinner in your hand, so when you're holding it, it doesn't feel as wider. Yeah. But it's slightly taller. And he said, no, I want it to be shorter than my S5. And I said, yeah, you got to go Pixel 5.
It's not really a thing anymore.
No, it isn't. It's a weird thing. Like seriously, and I don't even know if he has the active or not because it's inside of the case. But like he's like he's been rocking it for a few years, and every time I see him, that one time a year we hang out, he's always asking, it's like, did they make any cool small phones? And I'm like, well, Apple made one, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would say go for the regular one. The battery life on the small one is not acceptable. But then he said, I'm not a big fan of the Apple system. I said, oh yes, no. So Samsung, I said, the S21 series is a decent well, okay. I told him if you're considering getting a Samsung, let's say you want to upgrade from what you have, I told him you should just go get the S20 Plus. He said, how come last year? I said, well, I said, because Samsung decided to take things out of their phones this year to reduce the price point, to kind of tailor it down. They lowered
See,
this.
that's kind of interesting, like how much if someone is really holding on to a phone for longer. Let's say you're coming from a Galaxy S5.
Yeah.
If he was really using the Galaxy S5 to a moderately high degree, going with the new phone this year means giving up on memory card access, giving up on a headphone jack, giving up on a
I was going to
removable
say
battery.
removable battery and even a charger
You're
that
gonna
comes
have
with
to. You're gonna have to replace cables because the S5 had the mini USB 3, that wider USB micro
with the
USB
gas.
3.
If you remember that gasket there, that
The
always
gasket.
disappears. Yeah.
And didn't it have an IR blaster? Didn't the S5?
I want to say the active, not the 5.
I'm pretty sure one of them did. It's over there and I can't reach it.
Yeah,
But
it's
regardless,
over there somewhere, and I
think
can't reach it either.
think about it. Let's
Sorry.
say he
I have
used
an
all
active.
that. If he
Mhm.
really used his S5, that's a lot to give up. I mean, the phone's gonna have a nicer screen. It's the fingerprint sensor is at least still gonna be in the front, like
Yeah.
where the power button was, and that will work better.
Yeah. Well, on the back it'll work better, but yeah.
But that's a head trip to me. Like, think about how stark a change in how you might use your phone that would feel, and depending on what you like about using your phone, that might not feel like an upgrade to spend a
No,
lot of money and not have to feel like
and yeah, no, exactly. And then realize like, oh crap, so I have to get rid of my memory card. There's a lot of things. And I explained to him, I said, if you want to stay in the Samsung Apple or the Samsung ecosystem, I said, realistically, last year's models are better for you because that at least you're not compromising as much. I feel like he's not going to have the headphone jack, obviously, because that went away after the S10, but at least he'll have the memory card. He'll have the memory card option to be able to transition there. He still has the QHD resolution that on the higher end models. There are things that you appreciate about having them, with last year's model. So, he said he's going to go check out the Pixel. I said, it's a great choice. And there's really, I mean, it's one of those things that you're going to keep getting your updates and you're going to be getting new features as time goes on. And I told him, honestly, if I wasn't if I didn't need the phone to be able to do other videos with it, I would have totally, like worked out some kind of deal with them or something like that. But I think at the end of the day, it costs money, man. It's weird to go into a place, walk out, have to pay the guy, and then have to pay the Uncle Sam. So yeah, it's one of those. But yeah, so I told him if he needs anything, give me a call. Or I told him if you want to think, just type TK Bay in whatever phone you think of, and
you'll be doing fine.
You'll just do fine. You'll find a video. Oh yeah, Sam saying this is my first Galaxy phone. Always owned Notes. Yeah. I think you're on the.
He's on an S21.
Yeah, an S21. Yeah.
Oh,
Sam did pick up
using a smaller slab phone. He still primarily uses his Duo.
Yeah,
but he is backing it up with. I mean, again, if you needed a better camera, you need to pair a Duo up with something if you want a better camera.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, I mean LG V50 as a DTS saying is also kind of a good option as well if he was thinking about it. But I honestly
for a smaller phone though, I mean that's what's also kind of tricky too, where you got through the G7 and the G8, and I would say they're probably closer to, they're just that little bit larger than the base model Galaxies.
Yeah.
Like, unless you were to try and push them back farther to like a G6, which I don't think any of us would recommend.
No.
Fine phone, but if you're looking at upgrading over a Galaxy S5, you should want it to feel like more of an upgrade.
Oh, I wanted them to have a sense of a true, like a leap forward in the future, but also somewhere where I feel like that if he does land here, he can stick for a few years and still be comfortable with what he gets. It's a mid-range processor, but it's a so powerful processor for what Google does with it. Obviously, we'll see with what Chapel does, in the next few months or so. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, hopefully the Pixel 5a should be announced in a few weeks, right? I mean, typical that we've seen.
Yeah.
So Yeah, either way, it was an interesting conversation, Alec. We're discussing, expenses and so on, and how much we owe, or I owe. He doesn't owe anything to me.
So did you bill him for your time? I mean, because like
I
he's
I
your
I
tax guy.
want I wanted to. I
Like
felt like it was
while you're doing my taxes, you do know that this is part of what I do for a living. So
so.
should I invoice you? Is this a
I'll
company
say this:
expense?
one year we did a barter where we traded actual services. I fixed up his computer, and then he did
Nice.
my thing. So he's aware of what I do.
That's
But yeah,
totally fair. I like that.
at the end of that conversation, I should have been. So he'd be like, "Okay, so this is your bill, and here's mine. Thank you." But yeah, so there was a big thing that happened this week. I don't know if you were there, or actually you probably watch it, as
Oh, of
you
course I
know.
was there. My daughter took the most amazing photo of a wild daisy. This is like the coolest thing that happened this week. Is the only thing that I could imagine that you would be talking about because it was
Abs
amazing.
it is actually. Lexus camera prowess is getting a lot better than
So she
we
shot
think.
this on an old Micro Four Thirds mirrorless camera that I
Oh,
just have kicking around. My
look
5-year-old shot this. I
look
mean,
at that,
come on.
dude.
Not bad, right?
Not bad at all. See, this is something that our generation didn't, and I'm going to sound like a grandpa at this point. Sorry about this, but
You're old.
yeah, that's just no. But I mean, seriously, our generation grew. So okay, so I'll say this. I'm a Generation X, obviously. So I grew up at the beginning of my childhood. I grew up without the internet. I grew up without internet and without computers. Computers got introduced as I was growing up. I actually grew up getting introduced to the tech as the world was getting introduced to it.
Sure.
Um, our kids are growing in a world where tech is the world. So tablets, cameras, be able to capture images and so on. They get exposed to this at such a young age. I'm
Mhm.
really excited because I want to see what they can do when they reach a higher level, when they get older and they've been with this tech for so long, how the creativity is going to be, how their vision of the world, changes. And that is something, because I see that with Omar. Like seriously,
Yeah.
there's a few in a lot of my
You
videos
see
when it
that
comes down
spark?
to yeah, when it comes to cameras and pictures, I give him the phone. I'm like, dude, go have at it. And he goes and and like we're walking in the park, we're walking at the zoo, and he's like, Dad, that looks like a good shot. I'm like, dang it, that's a
Think
good shot. That is a good
nailed
shot. Yeah.
it.
So when you say Lex took this, yeah, dude, absolutely. Obviously, there's a lineage thing. There's genes and whatever.
You know.
But yeah, seriously, having this type of tech available at that age, I think is great because their imagination is just so strong
I
right
I mean,
now.
this is absolutely one of the reasons why I get so persnickety about how techies closer to our age kind of
Hmm.
talk about things like smartphone cameras. Like, oh, it's just the average consumers. They don't do things. And you're like, no, no, no. You don't do things with your phone camera. I'm
Exactly.
watching an entire generation of new filmmakers and storytellers. The
Hmm.
first cameras that they're going to get their hands on are probably going to be phones. I'm
And
watching high level consumer use on an explosion of services and platforms like YouTube and TikTok.
TikTok.
So
Yep, exactly.
we're seeing like next gen, next level content creation happening, and it's often not from someone investing in really fancy mirrorless cameras and kind of traditional production gear. It's much more organically focused on whatever tool or camera that just happens to be in their pocket.
Yep.
And some of the stuff is incredible. Like I shared it on, I don't know if I shared it on Twitter. I'm pretty sure I did.
You mean
But someone was
your photo sharing site, Twitter?
yeah. Well, again, you want to talk about, like if we're going to talk about, how people are sharing content, the fact that Twitter just made a big deal about 4K image
Finally.
quality is kind of a big deal. Anyway, but I was trolling through like a horror subreddit, people talking about movies and cinema. And some dude was just like, hey, I know this is kind of self promotion, but I shot this little horror short. And you click on it, and he shot it on a Note 20 Ultra,
Oh.
edited it in KineMaster, and it's maybe like 2 minutes long, but it's super effective. And it works because the nature of this quick little snippet of horror content fits kind of the feel, the almost documentary style feel that you would expect to come from phone footage. And it's hilarious because even down to things like he had to ADR the couple lines of dialogue, and he recorded them on the phone and matched them in the video editing software on the phone. I think he used KineMaster. I'm pretty sure he used KineMaster. And you're like, that's someone working not only within the limitations of a premium phone, but actually achieving something that's way higher tier than any techie would give that phone credit for.
No, absolutely, because that's not something with the average consumer would probably. It's like I said, the tech needs to be able to enable what you want to do with it, and when you're selecting the piece of tech, you need to select it for the features that you want it to be able to do. The Note 20 Ultra, the last great Samsung device to date. And if anybody wants to fight me on that one, I'll probably say let's go. No, seriously, if you really kind of think about it, I mean, there was some compromises with it from the S20 Ultra, but I feel like at the end of the year, that's where they went out with a bang. They have another Unpacked in a couple of weeks, I think, or next week or something like that. They're going to be announcing, I think, some laptops and so on, or some PC stuff.
You figured a tablet would probably be in the lineup for that, right? I mean, Apple just announced their tablets, so now Samsung has to copy them.
But did they really announce a tablet, or did they just announce a MacBook Air with just no keyboard?
Okay. I know I'm really not the guy to be on this ride, but I was actually kind of digging what Apple announced for iPads. I'm a bit more mixed on iMac, but
we can have a whole night conversation.
Probably different. I know we like the title of this is actually talking about Apple's event, and we're over here kind of spinning our wheels.
Like 26 minutes where like we covered everything but the Apple event yet. So El Jefe's like TK firing shots. Seriously, I think the Note 20 Ultra today is still in my I like that phone, and I
mean, if you ask me, Samsung's been going downhill since the Note 4, but everyone knows I'm a crank. So
that Juan Carlos, he just does that on his soapboxes every Monday.
Hater.
But on a true note, though, if you guys haven't been checking it out, make sure you check out the SGGQA on Mondays at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's where you can get Juan in all his glory on his soapbox every Monday.
All his soapbox and glory. And this is going to be a good one because we're doing the results from my OnePlus 9 versus Galaxy S21 low light camera showdown, where I'm seeing lots of people complaining about the OnePlus 9, flapping these gums. Not as many people actually playing the game, putting themselves out there, putting some votes in on which phone took which photo. Because when I don't label the photos, suddenly everyone's opinions on the OnePlus 9.
It gets
a lot trickier when a tech reviewer isn't guiding you to the conclusion they think you should have. Oh, when I just put photos up, now it's kind of challenging. Maybe the OnePlus 9 camera isn't as crippled as people have been making it out to be.
It's the answers to that will definitely be very surprising, and it's always. I think the last time when we did this, when you did that on the show, when you put out, I think was it the Pixel, the Sony,
Pixel,
and
OnePlus 8 Pro, and the Sony Xperia one too.
Yeah. So it definitely that was going to be very, very nice. The OnePlus 9 show. That was a good one.
OnePlus 9.
9. Das ist nicht gut. Okay, sorry.
Das ist gut, yeah.
But yeah, so let's flip it over to we'll flip it over to the iMac. Let's just say that the iconic.
Do we want to start with the iMac? We can start with the iMac.
I wanted to talk iPad real quick for just a little, but
no, I'm glowing on iPad. So if we want to start with iMac, that I feel is like the easier hot take, more controversial. I think Apple has kind of not delivered as well.
The giant iPad with no, just kidding. Yeah. So the iMac got revamped, as you guys probably already saw. Beautiful colors, amazing stand. Large 24 inches. I think the display is actually still pretty decent. They didn't really mention anything as far as the actual, I think, higher resolution, bigger iMacs, because I think we've also. I mean, I was expecting to hear about.
Do you want me to screen share so we can?
Sure. Yeah. Let's bring them up. And why not? Let's talk about our favorite fruit.
And just let me know where you want me to dance around on Apple's site. You guys can see all my tabs. I don't think I have anything embarrassing up there.
Yeah, no. The embarrassing stuff was right before the show. So as Juan just closes all the tabs,
let's full screen it. No, it was full screening, so it wasn't as okay. Anyway,
I'm just kidding. Here you go. We'll go full screen on our side too. Why
okay,
not?
So here's my problem with iMac. I understand that we're going with the M1. I totally get that this is Apple's custom silicon. It's ARM based. It doesn't need as much cooling or as much surface area. I totally grok all this.
Although there is cooling, that was an interesting surprise.
No. But I mean, it doesn't need as much the surface area requirements. It's not like the last generation iMac where the back of it was curved because you actually had some guts in there that needed better management.
Exactly.
I still have a philosophical issue with a computer that's supposed to take the place of like x86 desktop work environment that is essentially completely unupgradable, non-repairable to any consumer degree, and is
with white bezels. I don't know why, but with white bezels.
Well, I don't love that as a design choice anyway, but I just mean like it's so built disposably.
Oh,
and especially for a company that's trying to talk about the environment and is lobbying so hard against right to repair legislation. This computer right here just totally feels to me like this is not the right time. Like Apple is not reading the room. They're not keeping their finger on that pulse. But this is the step towards making Mac more like iPad. You know what I mean? Like if Apple's making all their money on iOS and iPad OS, eventually you're going to make the Mac more like those products. So this is just the transitionary step. This is the missing link, evolutionary exploration from Apple to eventually just make everything an iPad or an iPhone.
If you really consider the fact that the iPad received the M1, but it's still running iPad OS, and then the iMac has iOS and Mac OS, and it's running the same chip. So the reality of the matter here is like, are we really?
But so much of Mac OS, like the newest elements of Mac OS, are all cribbed from iPad OS.
No, exactly. They're taking a lot of the app style from their smartphones to bring it over to their PC side. So to me, it's like a very like the approach to what we see with this system. I understand it's very minimalistic. I totally get what they're trying to do, but it just so. Like seriously, like one piece. The colors obviously were spring forward. All of those, they definitely look really nice. But like you said, I mean, this is how weird it's so thin. They had to put the headphone jack sideways, otherwise they didn't have at least they left the headphone jack. I felt like, hey, Apple did something right. They didn't take it away. They're like, oh, we can just put it sideways.
But also, it's so thin that like we can't keep an Ethernet connector on this with such a huge chin on the bottom.
This is exactly dongle heaven. This is going to be dongle heaven for anything you do. This minimalistic design that everybody's good. I mean, obviously, it's intended to look.
For a second, I really thought that guy was flipping us off.
He probably.
This guy right here.
Yeah. Like, hey,
for a second, I was like, "What? Oh, he's not."
No, he's like, gotcha. No.
You spent how much on your computer?
and I love it. Like they were saying, just it's like an iPad on it with a stand, which is actually what the iPad Pro did last time. It looks literally like an iPad Pro.
Well, and way more practical than getting an Apple monitor because it comes with the stand.
Exactly.
I mean, this Apple product comes with the accessory of a stand. So
and you don't have to pay an extra $1,000 for that one because
that's a tangible benefit.
No, and I think that's what they're going to sell it. I mean, so in all honesty, the design definitely looks very like they did enough work on the design, but I think they went so far into the design that they skipped.
I think the design is absolutely gorgeous. Everyone's like, I feel objectively this is a stunning architectural accomplishment.
Yes.
And like so many of our modern day smartphones where we're just going to slap a case on it, but the actual construction of a device deserves to be kind of like in a glass case under museum lighting. I'm on board there. It's just, I feel like this is this is not a practical computing environment. I'm looking at my family and friends. Like I've got an uncle, he's just recently upgraded his hard drive for doing backups, and he's got stuff connected to this, and he's got this, and he's got a Plex account, and he needs to be able to attach to. And like, I could just see him getting this in here and going, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah,
I can't do anything with this. It doesn't matter how powerful it is. It's going to be a mess of cables on my desk. And how much you want to bet that it's just like the MacBooks, where it even has problems with compatibility for things like laptop hubs. So I can use any Android phone with a laptop hub for extra ports and video out and Ethernet.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably won't be able to do that on this fancy new iMac.
And it's just, I mean, I get why they did it, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's
because it looks so pretty. Oh, it
is so pretty. It is so pretty, but it's the, like, I could totally see this at my dentist next time I go. I was like, yeah, right there. So you get the power cord.
Why would you do magnetic on a desktop? Why?
Because you want to have those power core outage, because your kid's gonna, or if you're running wires behind your desk, you're gonna hit it by mistake, or it tangles between and you snap on it and everything shuts down.
I don't want to keep showing us the Groods. Thanks, Apple. We just probably got our channel like copyright striked for that. But so this is, I feel like it's the frustration of I want to be more on board M1. One of the things that I think is actually a critical bonus point here. There was that initial techie concern that maybe what we would see for this iMac would be like a refined an M1 Plus, maybe an M2 processor. What I think gives us a little confidence here is I don't feel you can push laptops and desktops to the same yearly refresh that phones can. I don't think you can really keep driving phones with the same yearly cycle. I really feel like most manufacturers should be going to 2-year cycles to make them feel like more like upgrades. So at least seeing that this iMac is arriving with an M1, we've got a generational class of products built on the same processor. It's going to give developers time to really implement and
I think that's what they're doing. They're bringing it across every single aspect of their line.
But it gives me more confidence in M1 not being the beta test on consumers.
Yeah,
it's a proper full generation of products that are going to come out running this. I hope that we'll get a little bit more of a buffer before we have to cycle it and get to the next generation, the M2 or whatever they're going to call it. I hope we get some lead on that. And then I'll be a bit more confident in this Apple Silicon experiment being more of a benefit to consumers, knowing that it's not going to be the same, like, well, your MacBook has an M3 that's like 6 months old. It's like so out of date now. You can't do that. You can't do that with laptops. I mean, like, I'm already mad at Apple enough for some of those types of planned obsolescence issues. If they make that move with laptops and desktops, then I'm going to be working viscerally to get my family off of Apple gear. If they can give us good time frames on these products, then I'm going to be super stoked about where they take it.
Well, let me ask you that. Do you think there will be a day maybe when Apple uses the M chip on their iPhones? Do you think at some point that this is going to overtake the A series and just become, because I mean, they put it in an iPad, and realistically, I think that's way more power than the iPad needs for what you can do on an iPad on iPad with iPad OS right now.
Yeah,
the M1 is
I get it. So ultimately, I think Apple has an issue. It's funny, like each company's greatest strength is also one of their biggest weaknesses. In the Qualcomm space, we have tiers of processors. So if we want to sell a cheaper phone, there is a class of SoC that Qualcomm can provide to help cut costs. Apple does not have that. They make the most powerful single generation of chipset that they can for the phones, and now they're going to be doing the same thing
for the PCs,
desktops and laptops and tablets.
Oh, that's true.
So even 2 SoCs seems to be a lot for Apple to accomplish and to keep up with these cycles. I don't think the iPhone 12 is really as tangible an upgrade over iPhone 11 as Apple marketing would want us to believe. So right now, I really want Apple to focus on what makes sense in the power consumption envelope for a pocket computer versus these other devices that can be pushed and pulled, have more surface area, have better thermal handling, can have active cooling. They need to have a clear, definite, a clearly defined split between those two classes of product. Yeah, I really feel A15 really needs refinement and optimization over A14. We shouldn't be looking at more power. We really need to look at thermal load and consistency of performance. And it's the same issue that we've got in Android land, but at the same time, I can recommend someone use a 765. And there are plenty of phones with mid-ranger chipsets and huge batteries that can do some really cool stuff at the consumer level.
Oh, absolutely. Xiaomi, if you look at any of the like the budget side of what Xiaomi puts out, it's crazy. Like 5,000, 4,000 milliampere batteries with 1080p panels, OLED.
But
Seriously,
TCL had a monster in that space. The Nord is solid in that space.
Absolutely.
What's the other one that I'm forgetting? There's another one that's kind of in that trio. Anyway, but there are a bunch of those kind of cookie cutters, 700 series processors, 4,000 milliamp hour batteries.
Oh, you're thinking of the Velvet.
Yes, thank you. But again, like there are so many of those that kind of fit that mold, and they're phenomenal options when we're talking about this kind of more mainstream daily driver kind of use.
Yeah.
So anyway, I really want to like these more, but these updates also just feel so modest. Like the M1 is a killer chip, and as more developers optimize for it, like there's a lot to be excited about with competition against Intel and Qualcomm. But like it's 1080p webcam, how exciting! And you're like, no, a 1080p webcam is pants on head reductive.
It's
like it's not
3 years ago camera tech that's been out on the market, and now everybody's trying to go for their 4K with all, and like, no, 1080p. I'm like, okay, great, thank you, welcome to 2020. I mean, or not even 2020, 2018.
No, but again, it's like I want to take like video calls from my phone, because like I am almost guaranteed better image quality on any phone I pick up than what's going to be in this like $1,500 iMac.
But see, okay, so that's the thing that I'm looking at seriously. So if for somebody that's upgrading, let's try to look at it from a user of the iMac, an earlier generation Intel based iMac that to a certain point was running all of the applications that Mac OS can support, right? So that was a much more, the developer didn't have to optimize it for M1. They're upgrading to the M1 right now. There is a possibility that they're going to have to basically make a selection of apps that they cannot use, or programs that, because it's not optimized yet. The list is growing, and it's growing very fast. But as a person that's deciding to upgrade to the new iMac, they need to make a decision of, first, are all my applications supported? If they're not supported, can I do something with other apps? So those are things that you have to keep in mind. Or do you have to run them in a VM or something to kind of like bridge over? So it's a direction that I feel like is great. And I think they saw what they did it with the series, and of course everybody loved that one. Or even the iMac Minis. I understand totally.
Mac Mini to me seems like such, I don't know, like to me that feels like a safer, better buy as part of just an overall home computing platform than
it is, because it's you know exactly what you're getting into. It's already not sitting in front of you. The wires and everything can be organized correctly. It's just that they demonstrated the new system. And like I said, at the end of the day, short answer is, realistically, it looks great, but I feel like it's missing the point of the upgrade. It's pretty for the sake of being pretty. But the reality of the matter is, if somebody has an earlier Mac, upgrading to this one, is iMac specifically, I think to a certain point they're going to feel it's somewhat of a downgrade from, again, it's like S20 to S21. You're losing certain functionalities. I mean, it's great that it has everything integrated into the same chipset. You don't have to worry about managing and RAM and all that. Everything is in there. There's good cooling, supposedly good sound system that fires down to play the echoes, the vibration, and the reverberations back from the ground. I like that.
I don't feel like any of those things we were worried about. What I would love to know is, if something goes sizzle pop on this, am I going to be able to take it to a repair store and have them remove the back panel?
As long as you have Apple Care.
If I spend what is it? Sorry, $1,300.
The entry level, yeah, it's a full PC.
$1,300 it would be kind of nice to know that after 2 years of use, maybe I could pop in a new SSD. Like, I'm so tired of the desktop space and the laptop space being treated exactly the same as the tablet and the smartphone game. And
Mhm.
I understand, because like marketing helps do this brainwashing trick on consumers, but those kinds of things, those still matter to some people. Like knowing that you've got some control over the hardware, knowing that you've got some kind of upgrade path. Like 2 years ago, I spent $1,300. This machine has 256 gig of storage.
Storage.
You're not going to use the cloud. You're not going to use
Oh,
iCloud to fill in
well,
those gaps.
in Apple's ecosystem, though, that's how they're envisioning you being in the future. It's a service base, right? I mean, we saw that last year with their announcements. Everything's going, and then also they did announce subscription based podcast, which they sent me a very nice email to let me know I could start making subscriptions because
Nice.
that's for the Saturday morning with tech. 'Cause I posted.
And they're only going to take 30% of your podcast
That's it. It makes
fees if anyone subscribes to your
it
podcast
makes
that way.
that makes perfect sense. It's I think as El Jefe was saying it earlier, you're paying for the right. I think it was just for the
Right.
for the prestige. Yeah,
So I mean, again, there are these little glimmers of things. Like I remember when we made it from the Power PC to the Intel Mac days, and what like a transformative event that was for Apple. When I look at what Apple is becoming, and where I think they're putting most of their resources, and where they're trying to force their consumers,
mhm,
that's what I think is so frustrating. Is that like I can be so excited about iPad. iPad is lighting me up right now
mhm,
as a proponent of getting more use out of mobile devices, out of phones and tablets, watching developers take mobile seriously because
mhm,
Apple is driving some of this stuff. iPad and iPad OS show us that Apple can really make really well featured multitasking near computer replacement portable devices and slates.
mhm.
That gets me crazy happy. I mean, like I get so Twitter hated about that. To then
El
see
Jefe Jeff used to use it by the way to actually edit and produce his content.
so many
So
people have. I mean, like Viper was talking about that on a stream too. It's like he started his YouTube channel on an old iPad and was cutting in Luma. Like I
mhm,
mean, what I said earlier in this podcast, like the next generation of filmmakers and storytellers are starting on phones and starting on tablets.
yep,
They're not shooting on fancy mirrorless cameras and then sitting down in front of a beast of like an AMD Threadripper workstation because that's the only way that it's going to be worth it to edit video. That's all
exactly, Juan. That's how you
nonsense.
do it. Keep going. Yeah.
The only way to get my 8K tasty B-roll clips. So when I take a look at what it is that they're doing here, it's so heavy-handed how they're shoving their
Oh yeah,
customer base in the direction of disposable, how they're
yeah.
shoving their diehard. The people that are going to be in line to pick up an iMac are Apple diehard. Like
Oh,
they're ride or die Apple, and they're the ones that I feel are being the most like manipulated in that direction. And that's what's kind of concerning is increasingly we're going to see that division between sort of Apple consumer grade, somewhat glued shut and kind of disposable, but still powerful, and where there still used to be that component of Apple professionals, that
mhm.
the Mac Pro gang of
Which there
Apple.
was no announcement of, which is the interesting part. Like everything we saw was purely entry level, and we'll have the other iMac Pro come out later on.
I mean, iMac Pro is one thing, but like the refresh on Mac Pro was
Mhm,
substantial, and it's disappointing to know that we're not likely to get something like that soon. I'm assuming we're going to see an M2 and probably double the core count or
mhm,
something crazy just for like extra horsepower after we get more software kind of in the right in the right space optimized for M1. And then we could maybe start talking about a Mac Pro. I don't want a pro machine, a pro workstation
mhm.
to be built on the same kind of SoC philosophy as our phones and tablets. And that's what Apple is kind of shoving us towards. It's cool. There's a blurring of the line between mobility and desktop and laptop, and there's so much of this that makes sense. I love decks. I love desktop modes. I love phones. I love tablets. I want to be excited about that, but there's also a market for big giant box with fans that has just beastly powerful guts in it that you can't really replicate the workstation grade solution. And Mac Pro was actually a pretty decent box.
It was
it was a little pricey, but it was
well. The
it was
design
good
was
for
the design was at least the last one. The trash can design was a little bit
the
polarizing.
Darth Vader's diaper genie. Yeah, I don't like that Mac Pro. I'm not talking about that one.
Yeah,
I'm talking
I know.
Getting back to the cheese grater. I like the cheese grater design from the old IBM days.
Oh, you're thinking about the original, like the big,
and then
like the
they brought that back, for the most recent Mac Pro. I'm all about that. You give me the cheese grater lifestyle, sign me up.
Yeah, that's the Apple lifestyle, man. They're interesting. Their designs are very. Yeah, I think we'll have to see what they do when they refresh that part. But at some point, I am wondering though if they are going to try to go the route of M2 this year because M1 came out already, and if they're going to try to do. I mean, they put it in an iPad, so this is the weird part about it, right? So the next iPad Pro or the next generation of that has to have a different chipset. Now, obviously, it wouldn't be in this year; it's probably more going to be next year. But there's going to be other. Like I'm wondering, it's like why. I mean, don't get me wrong. The iMac was very, very much a confusing product to start with. But once I heard that the iPad had the same processing power as the iMac, as the iPad Air, but still running in a mobile OS version, like, the iPad OS, I just like, like, why are you at some point going to just switch it over one day and it's like, hey, by the way, iPad OS, you just click one button and suddenly you're in iMac OS. Like,
no,
what?
I don't think it's going to go. I don't think it's that direction.
I know. It's more than likely it's the other direction.
The other direction. It's at every generation moving forward. I'm very confident in saying that Mac OS is going to take on more and more
of iOS,
iPad
OS.
And this is what drives me crazy. I mean, like, why I'm so obnoxiously critical of the iPhone. And I totally understand why, people call me such a crank on stuff like this, is because I look at iPad OS and I see a mobile focused operating system with proper support for real USB accessories that can actually multitask.
Yep. That's true.
And
that's
if
one
Apple
of the big
would give me that on a phone, I'd be a lot more comfortable rocking a phone made by Apple, but they won't because of all the BS around Lightning ports and how stupid simplistic they're keeping iOS for no good reason. And then I look at this and I'm looking at this M1 powered iPad Pro and I'm going, you just shown me you can make something baller. You can make a real pro device.
Yeah,
but you won't give me a real pro phone.
That's one of the reasons. Yeah, but there is a small sliver of hope. They always make it seem like they're going to at least at some point give you something like that. But at least the introduction of it on a tablet, like I said, to me, it's way overpowered for what the tablet can do.
But also, don't you think it's odd that like they've got the 8-core GPU in the iPad Pro, but the starter model iMac has a 7-core GPU. It's almost like the cheapest version of the iMac is just whatever M1s don't pass. Like, oh, this GPU is kind of it's 7 cores are functional. All right, put it in an iMac. I guess that'll be fine. Whatever chip fab kind of fails at the QA testing facility, we'll still make some money off of it. People are dumb. That could be a very you may be joking about it, but that could truly be the process of why there is such an odd, like 7-core. Like who goes with an odd number on cores? No, they don't. It's that as you're looking at your die, what we should do is get Dr. Ian from Anantech to come on in one of these and be like, well, you see, guys, this is why you're all wrong, and I'll be like, yes, I agree. But yeah, to me, it seems like the chip fab is like we've got a bin of M1s that don't quite meet spec iMac. Yeah, that'll work. Cool. We'll make some money on them.
It's definitely, like you said, the hardcore Apple fans will definitely jump on it. Somebody that's looking for super minimalistic experience when it comes down to Mac OS, on a very light, very quiet PC. Like I said, seriously, I will not be surprised if I see this at my dentist next time I go. It totally screams office experience sitting with that minimalistic look.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I feel like the story for the iMac isn't done. So we're definitely going to be hearing more, because they didn't address like we talked about before. They didn't address the power users. They addressed, it seems almost like they addressed the entry point of it, the entry level, iMac users that just don't need a lot, but still are getting basically now into the situation where everything you buy can't be replaced, can't be fixed. And if you do need to fix it, it literally will cost an arm and a leg if you don't have Apple Care, if you don't have the right insurance.
And it's not really getting fixed.
No, it's going to get recycled, and it'll be sent back. It'll be refurbished, and it'll be sold as a refurbished unit, and you'll get another piece. No, absolutely. It's a very, the design is not conducive of opening. Let's just say that. You could definitely see that if you open it, the display goes out. Like it's the setup, the mechanism and everything. Nothing's upgradable. You're stuck with what you have, and like you said, in 2 years, you're like, well, I can't upgrade that SSD, and if I want to run 1,000 wires in the background, so we'll have to see how the story kind of continues. But it's definitely an interesting approach to a company that says they're going to go green and reduce their carbon footprint on the production side, but then their marketing and their approach to things are, you replace the whole thing, you don't fix it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
we'll accessories are expensive, and they're gonna wear out fast, and you need extra cables and dongles, and all of that comes in really fancy packaging, and it just makes me sad, because then I get to this slide, and you're like, there's an iPad connected to a proper desktop grade monitor,
which is what this is what you should do. Yeah,
Apple is showing me right now they've made a mobile operating system that has better support for screen sharing. Like, they're showing me this right here, but they won't give it to me on a phone, because that would kind of disrupt their ability to sell more expensive tablets and other offerings. And just like, at what point, why are we even asking for more powerful devices? Who was it? Was it Alt Dad Tech? I don't know if he's still in the chat. I think it was him that shared that breakdown on like the most popular phones sold over the last period of time, and like iPhone 11 was again like top of the charts. This is like the most sold phone out of Apple's entire catalog, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. It actually runs better in some situations than iPhone 12. Probably gets better battery life. Isn't weighed down with a 5G radio that Apple is still trying to optimize for.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, for a lot of my family, if they were saying like, hey, what should I buy, and I want to save some cash, what penalties would they suffer? They went with an iPhone 11, and I can't think of any. So
it's definitely one of those you want to be able to make a good recommendation, because at the end of the day, you need to see beyond the presentation, beyond it is a presentation. You need to see beyond that. You need to see realistically what you are getting and what you're getting into. I mean, obviously, it wasn't the only announcement that was put out, but like Ranesh is basically saying, like WWDC is going to be very interesting, when it comes down to developers and how they're going to approach their ecosystem, because now they're asking the developers to start optimizing their systems or their apps to run on M1 and at the same time still support Mac OS. But like you said, it seems like they're blending the two, but still not giving it to you on a mobile device. Something like that, you would have thought Apple, if they did it, they would have perfected it, right? Because they invent everything every time they do it. I feel like having a desktop experience out of an iPhone should have been possible years ago. But I don't. But it disturbs, like you said, it's like eating up out of their own margin.
It's a really cynical like marketing decision, not really reflective of the power of these devices, and it kind of keeps going hand in hand. You keep giving me these super powerful A series processors, but with batteries that are like the bare minimum for a day's charge. Not a day and a night, just a day.
A day. At the evening, you need to put it back on the charger, because
which means your battery degradation is is gonna be bad. So like people were talking about like how like, oh well, this OnePlus 9. I went 40 hours with over 7 hours of screen on time. I probably could have made it to 8. With all of the eye candy turned up on a phone that runs really warm. It's really hot. It's very aggressive. And that was like my first main full charge. So this is a part of the setup day. And you're like, I 12 Pro Max, maybe? But I don't know that I could have driven it as hard. And then it's not comparable because I don't have a super fast refresh rate display or a higher resolution display head to head. Yeah, like again, it's not directly comparable. And I just don't have that kind of faith in an iPhone right now.
It's just in my experience, at least with the 12, with the mini, right? I tried going into the ecosystem with the most, to me, I felt like the most exciting feature that they offered. It's smaller, easier to use, lightweight. I think it felt like it was a better version, than just the SE, because the SE was nice, but again, it was a rehash of another version. I was just surprised, like how they would even consider selling something that barely could last. It couldn't even last a day. That's how bad it was with the mini.
Well,
I really feel like
SE was the same way. It's like if I really use it, the battery evaporates. If it's just in my pocket to get text messages, it's amazing.
It's an amazing smartwatch companion. I mean, sorry, a smartphone companion to another smartphone for notifications.
No, I think you had it right the first time.
Yeah. It was just
because it powers my Apple Watch.
It was definitely I appreciated what they tried to do, but I felt like they missed the mark with the battery capacity for the sake, and that's the thing about Apple. That's how they do it.
The iPhone 6.
They compromised the function to meet the aesthetic, and I feel like they're selling that aesthetic life to the point.
Now, but here's our tinfoil hat though. Do we think it's just to match the aesthetic, or do we think that this is also a part of a calculated engineering and design costs breakdown where they know people are still going to pay premium prices? So they don't have to spend on those kinds of components. They can keep their profit margins really high. And then they know that someone, even though they're going to offer years of software updates, well, they're going to bring it into an Apple store. And it's like, it's like 4 years old. You could replace the battery, but wouldn't you just rather get a new iPhone? And it's the artificial push to encourage an update sooner than you probably really need to. The power of the phone, totally fine. We can replace this battery, no problem, but it is getting a little old. Isn't it slowing down on you a little bit?
It is very much I'm more the cynical part of me is thinking that's probably how it is to keeping that whole communication, bringing you in, connecting, and at some point obviously do a conversion. But at the end of the day, I feel like Samsung's copying the exact same pages from that experience. I feel like, Samsung just literally looks over his shoulder and it's like, hey, what's the answer for 5A?
Like, hey, just change enough of it so it doesn't look like you copied us directly. And Samsung's like, okay, and then they just copy it directly.
So speaking of copying, this year we had a little bit of a slight shift, and I want to switch it over a little bit to AirTags. AirTags, man. Finally, right? Like, I mean,
are you hyped up about AirTags? I'm trying to find where my excitement might be for them. I'm not sure I've found.
I have. So I got my free one. I'm not a big. Well, okay. So I'll take that. First, I'll say this. The ability of tracking things, Tile has been around for a long time. I just want to make sure before everybody forgets and makes it sound like Samsung invented them. Tile has been a business model that's been around for a long time, a product that you could use to track, keep tabs of where your devices are, and that actually already had an existing ecosystem that ran ping connections between multiple services. So if you had Tile and you somehow lost the system park and somebody else had a Tile, passively being able to track where other tiles are placed and helping people find their products was the exact system. Samsung comes in and then obviously starts in with their smart tags, and then Apple comes in with AirTags because you can't call them smart tags Apple style. So I like the approach. I like what they're trying to do, helping people keep track of their devices. I like. Oh yeah, let me bring that up here. Sorry. So if you guys are not familiar, so where this kind of looks like
it's a Mento.
It is
The Fresh Maker.
I was going to say it looked like the Apple logo without anything else, but yes, the ability of being able to track your devices, obviously this beautiful, very, very highly expensive, genuine leather with a clip thing, probably $30 on its own, clip that comes with it. And you're able to obviously accessorize it. It's all about the lifestyle. Although I would question this much, that tag with the clip, the way they made it design, it made it look like this would be something that you put your keys on. So obviously you want to be able to find your keys. That's the intention of it. But obviously most other tags will be just the tag by itself. You put it in your suitcase or backpack, whatever, and you're supposed to be able to basically find things easier. I think they're selling for about $30, if I'm not mistaken. I think the price point. It's definitely a move in the right direction, but I feel like it's just, again, like, I mean, Tile works on iOS. So does, on Android. It worked really nice.
JGJ is saying that Tile filed an antitrust or made an antitrust threat against Apple. So again, looking at Tile's business model, I'm sure that there would be some concerns about Apple replicating some of the functionality.
Again, when I saw the announcement and when I saw the function, I'm like, wait, Tile's already out here doing this. What happened?
So it's this part of it that I think is both interesting, and one of the reasons why I'm probably not going to jump on AirTag is you get by with a little help from hundreds of millions of friends. So there's this like ultra wideband? Is that the radio tech that? Is it a UWB tech that they use?
Yeah, it's a low power wideband that basically connects to other smartphones. Yeah.
So you lose something, and if another iPhone is walking by it, it can ping this device, and then it can kind of send up a message to an Apple server, and you can kind of get an alert on your AirTag was last seen at this last location.
Exactly, but exactly what Tile does. That's the crazy part. That's exactly what Tile does. But yeah.
So one of the things about like putting all your eggs in one manufacturer's basket, I'm very anxious to see, with the number of exploits that are currently sort of out there and being explored on iOS, and none of them seem to have been utilized in the wild. But security researchers are not paying for iOS exploits anymore. Like this notion that iOS is like an indomitable fortress is a long dead idea. We've been looking at law enforcement cracking open iPhones with special decryptor boxes, and like this isn't actually as locked up a box as Apple sells it to be. I'm curious if we'll start seeing exploits for this type of location tracking,
being able to track people as opposed to
so imagine, like being able to walk by and you start kind of pinging iPhones with like some kind of stinger that mimics what an AirTag can do. And I know we're supposed to believe that like there's this perfect little bucket of your data that is tractable, like, and no one can get into. But given what we know about some of these other code exploits and some of the other issues that are facing iOS, I wonder, I mean, if this is going to be a vector of attack. It seems like one of the benefits of Tile is much smaller visibility and probably fewer people are going to directly attack it. Apple is going to be a much higher visibility lifestyle consumer product. And to me, like, it would be more fruitful or more profitable if you want to go that route to try and attack something and get at someone's location data.
Well, not only that, or even initiate any kind of functions on the smartphone, depending on how it's coded, because it's actually the intention of it essentially is to passively run the actual connection and then pass it up to a server. But it's a function that's happening on the smartphone, so they're using other people's smartphones to basically track other devices. So the question would be, at the end of the day, is can this be exploited to actually have it do something on the phone? So essentially, is as long as the smart tag is in an area, actually initiate function. This is where I worry. But I mean, when we're looking at it from the situation right now where it could be, because of the fact that it becomes so popular, right? It's one of the things that a lot of us, at a small scale, like if you probably, for some people in our chat, they may not even be aware what Tile was prior to us mentioning it, because it's a very niche. I feel like not everybody really had it. I got introduced to it through, or I got a chance to try it out through Verizon. They sent me a couple of tile pieces, and I'll say this: I forgot to reset my tile, and I did return my unit back to Verizon. And coincidentally, I tried to see where it is. I was able to track it all the way back to the warehouse where I was able to ship it to. So the question is, the tech works? Yes, absolutely. I think Tile has it there, and I feel like Apple's approach, although opens up things to obviously the masses, it is very much, in my opinion, infringing on what Tile was doing. That ecosystem, that passive connection, because Tile also works on the iOS, and I would be surprised to basically see essentially is Apple going to be limiting this function on other companies, or just give them proprietary? How is this going to work where there's competitors already in the market that have had generations of upgrades on them, and now they
I
actually have.
mean, we freaked out about Microsoft including a web browser and Windows. I feel
And
like
they could,
Apple going out of their way to replicate their competitors' business models on services and products like this is worthy of some kind of market examination.
absolutely. I
I'm
think
not saying
this,
I'm not saying they need to be shut down. I'm just saying that is worth an investigation just to see where we feel that line should be.
and I think Aditya has a really good point too. He said, shouldn't Tile have some kind of patent on it? And I'm not sure if Tile has. There we've had other technologies too. So Tile uses a different type of technology, but essentially it's low power Bluetooth, right? So Tile doesn't use.
Although doesn't AirTag like make part of their connection? Yeah, so your
It is,
AirTag sends out a secure Bluetooth signal that can be detected by nearby devices in the Find
yeah.
My network.
So
So it's also I'm assuming that a lot of this is very similar, even if it's not exactly the same type of heartbeat, same kind of pulse. A lot of it seems to be pretty close.
I seriously, if anybody that's ever used a Tile, the moment they saw that presentation, they're like, "Wait, when did Apple buy Tile?" Like seriously, it'll be one of those like Find My Network, Find My from third party accessories and so on. So there's a lot of other things, and 3D tags and stuff like, not 3D, Bluetooth tags have been out for some time. So it was a very interesting spring event from Apple. It was I didn't really find a lot of surprises, but other than obviously the kind of like why did they, that was more my reaction. Um, I did end up catching it on the replay. I was unfortunately in another meeting during most of I, the week. Kind of went through for me. This week has been very. Um, I put out a video on the Red Magic 6, and I wanted to focus on that. It was a lot of work on those videos, and I felt like at the end, like I wanted to catch the show, but I was like, nah, it's okay. I'll catch it on the replay, and I didn't feel like I missed a lot. There's some interesting things, but
Yeah.
We'll have to kind of wait maybe to the.
I gotta say, I mean, like I actually was feeling the iPad announcement. I like where they're going with their direction for slates. I like seeing this sort of cross-platform app developers taking Mac OS more seriously because of the M1. You're going to get a tangible benefit for that if you're in the iPad OS space. Like so much of that is what I want to see from an ecosystem of hardware and software on Android. I want to see those improvements. Like I still like get so excited about the days that I want to take my Surface Duo out because I've got this mini tablet that I can do a lot of stuff on. I want to see Android developers taking that hardware as seriously as Apple developers that they'll be taking the iPad. So that kind of stuff was really lighting me up. But it was such this huge swing of like, I'm not feeling the iMac. I think it's really pretty. I think its design.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No.
I'm
There's
really
no
not
question.
feeling AirTags. Like I'm not getting excited about this. And like from so many of these other tracking accessories that I played with that always seem to kind of complicate the process of keeping track of the stuff that I'm taking care of. And I just see so many opportunities for abuse on a product like this. Like the page that I had up, you don't have to go back into screen share, but this privacy page that they've got.
No, we could bring it back.
I love this language. I'm just going to read this off here. If someone else's AirTag finds its way into your stuff, your iPhone will notice it's traveling with you and send you an alert. After a while, if you still haven't found it, the AirTag will start playing a sound to let you know it's there. From the inception of this as an Apple consumer facing product, they're already having to address the abuse of low jacking other people's stuff without their permission. The phone is aware of what AirTags it's coming into contact with. That means it's got a good idea of what's around it, and that data is being sent up to servers. I mean, just there are a lot of opportunities for a link of this chain, a chain this wide, or I mean, you say you're casting a net this wide. I'm mixing my metaphors. So many opportunities for this to not really go the way a consumer might expect. And I just don't have any confidence. This isn't on Apple. I don't have any confidence in any mega corporation to be able to anticipate all the ways that something like this could potentially go wrong.
My only other thing would be is, are they going to ask every Apple user if they want to be part of that chain? That's the question.
Well, I mean, it's obviously going to be, upfront, opt in, just like they're going after advertisers on iOS. They're going to make it clear to the consumers that, you're going to be a part of this international and global community of people sending signals with all, your location data from where these tags were tripped and triggered. And that's obviously going to be up to each consumer to decide for themselves whether or not they want to be a part of it. Right. Apple would never be so hypocritical as to restrict the flow of data on one of their platforms with advertising as they would with a consumer's location data, right? They wouldn't do that.
That would have been I'm sorry. I that was a mistake on my side. I don't know why I said that. You're right. Apple would never do that.
Apple would never be so hypocritical.
No. There's going to be a prompt that comes up on every iPhone after the next update says, would you like to be part of this massively glorious chain of tracking things, where we're going to run things through your phone, through your data plan, through your phone without actually showing it to you, but we're going to have access to everything. And then coincidentally, we're also going to know where you are because that's how we were able to get the ping. Yes. But that's beside the conversation. We're not going to say that. We're going to say we found the AirTag. We didn't find you.
And you haven't done anything with AirTags in a while. Don't you want to reconfirm and re-verify that you want to be a part of this program?
It's saltiness. I like that in detail. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's ways of doing things, and there's ways to be really upfront and just seriously make sure that you're taking care of your ecosystem. We'll have to see how they deal with it. But I like Juan was saying, realistically, that more than likely everybody's going to be opted in by default, and you would have to basically jump into so many hoops in a settings tab if it is in there.
After they started pre-installing Apple Watch apps on our iPhones,
which you cannot uninstall. You cannot uninstall that app. That has to stay there.
iPhones don't have bloat.
No, that to me was like, and because of the app on your phone, you were like, dang it, I got to get the watch for that app, because otherwise I have an app that I can't use.
I feel like this is a lot of consumer conditioning and pressure. And we make these arguments about ecosystem, but I don't feel it's always oranges to oranges when we look at
we really look at Apple with a very, and when I say we, I'm talking about the general we, not you and I kind of we, or even our group in the chat.
The lovely folks in this chat right now.
Absolutely.
Understand where we're going with this.
Definitely not a DT. The guy sitting. No, just kidding. It's definitely that walled garden kind of approach, which surprisingly I've never heard it till like earlier this week. I was watching. There was a video talking about why Tesla stopped selling power walls to non-Tesla power, non-Tesla power solar program buyers. And I've had actually, which is surprising, I've actually heard many people refer to Tesla as the Apple of the car system. The ecosystem and the way Teslas are done and they're built and everything just works right and everything kind of like built in, but that evolution, the price of the power walls going, not the power wall, the solar panels are going up. A lot of people kind of that they got into and signed contracts at 35,000. Now they're being changed up to 75,000 because of materials and whatever. It is very, very interesting to see how those people want to build their ecosystems, their walls. So it's, I mean, and I say this obviously as a Tesla owner, so now I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so you're totally locked in.
I am not only, I mean, but I have to say that I enjoy learning about the car. I ordered my parts to replace the holding mechanism for the display now, because I want to get the tilty action going on and drop the display a little bit
Nice.
nice. And I didn't realize this till we were coming back from karate today, and that the actual display stays. Sorry, the games can actually be played while the car is driving. So like when
Mhm.
we're in the car driving for a nice long ride, and my wife can just sit there and turn it on and play a couple of games in the middle of it. I didn't realize that. Like there's some function to having that tilty function in there.
Yep.
So I'm
But
still
even
enjoying.
my mom went out like for her most recent birthday was like, well, I need some Xbox controllers for my car.
For my car. Like, what?
Like, that's hilarious. Oh my
I
god.
no,
My
no,
mom has the most expensive game console in the whole family.
I will say this: watching movies on it, or waiting in the car is amazing because of the sound
Pretty
system. The
cool.
sound system, yeah,
Yeah.
you're truly tapping into all of the speakers, all the tweeters, and everything like that. And acoustically, it actually, the glass just does the right level of reverberation. It just, to me.
Mhm.
So as I'm waiting for my son to watch, car, I turned on Twitch and I'm trying to watch some of the new Warzone maps, because they dropped the new season 3 today on Warzone. And I haven't had enough hours in the game to learn all the ins and outs. They've changed a whole bunch. Like the
Mhm.
map looks the same, but it's like, what does it want to say, maybe 20, 30 years earlier? Like they shifted in time, and there's that
Okay.
new. Anyways, Matt and I are going to play hopefully in the next couple of days. So
Nice.
we're setting up some play dates, and would love to have you moderate. Maybe bring it into the show.
You want you might use some I can jump in and do some color commentary. Like,
Yeah, no, that's what
whoa,
it's like.
360 no scope.
That's
And,
like,
it's
what?
like, yeah.
Matt is actually crazy good. He's actually
I
very,
don't
very good.
I totally buy it.
And not only that, I didn't realize that Matt was a very tall gentleman. I did not
Oh yeah.
realize that. They were
He's pretty
talking
tall.
about it last week on the height wise. I feel like he was like 6'4", 6'3", and I
I'm
was
I'm
like,
so far behind on games right now. So I'm finally chewing through some of the extended content for the Dead Cells
yeah,
DLC.
hmm
So I'm really stoked there. I'm finally getting around to checking out. Did you ever play Pascal's Wager?
no, no, I haven't tried that.
So it's a
Yeah,
Souls game for
hmm
Android, and it
okay,
is as obnoxiously, brutally unforgiving hard as any of the Souls games. And I tried for a good like hour to play it touchscreen.
hmm
And you're like,
hmm
no, F this. I've got to connect it
got a
to a
controller.
controller at least. One of their big most recent announcements was like, oh, we're also extending keyboard and mouse support because like those games are impossible to play even on a controller.
You're not a
Like I
controller.
need the twitchy accuracy of a keyboard and mouse.
There's truly nothing like a keyboard and mouse when you play in games, especially extended amount of time. The control, just the natural positioning of it, we use it all the time. So to us, it's a natural thing.
So this
It,
might make it into my gaming benchmarks though. Like Dead Cells should be the game that if a phone can't run it at least 90 frames per second, there's a problem. So at least
yeah,
that's my safety net. And then Undead Horde will be my, it's really cooking the CPU because of all the unit management. I might need to include Pascal's Wager as the real
you're
lush GPU, pretty graphics.
pretty
Because
graphics.
it,
Yeah, yeah.
does kind of feel like a last gen console title on Android. So
Oh my God.
it's
Fat
gonna have
produce.
to.
Andrew's trying to take us way, way back into the old DOS games.
Nerd. Andrew just found a place to buy Battle Chess. I don't know if you remember Battle Chess with the
Oh
little
man.
animated chess pieces, and the rook was like
The
a rock
3D.
monster.
Yeah, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I miss DOS games. Let's just say that. Running DOS commands to be able to initiate a
Yup.
game. Oh my God. Yeah,
Yeah,
that brings me back to,
I need all the
man,
King's Quests and the
like
Space
94,
Quests,
92, or like not
and
even, yeah.
I had an old ASCII game that was called Snipes. So it was all made out of like just characters on the keyboard, and you would navigate these maps and you would shoot these like sparkle
hmm
blasts at little smiley faces. So if I could get a copy of Snipes again, that would be rad. I mean, I was I
Andrew's
was
going to
probably
be,
like 7 years old. I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and I would grind hours on that game on an 8088 running DOS.
Oh man,
So
I
bad.
see like, older tech. Like Omar was asking me if I ever played on a Nintendo, and I'm like, yeah, I had the original. We had the 64 also, and then we had the Sega
You're
and the
like,
Sega
let
Genesis.
and let me tell you about Atari.
Seriously, the first system I ever played games on was the Amiga 64, and
Oh, nice.
it
I
wasn't
never
even
had an
my.
Amiga. I always
So
wanted one.
see, that was the thing. At the time, our neighbor's kid had, I don't know how they got it, but they had the whole system. They had the tapes and all of that. So we got there. We went down there. All
Nice.
of the kids in the building that we lived in would just literally be glued to the TV there. So I begged my mom. I begged my mom for for a Commodore 64. I wanted that. Um, and then she came back with I think it's an Atari 2600. You know, that the OG Atari that
Mhm.
didn't have games built into it.
Yeah.
And I was so happy, but also kind of bummed at the same time because I wanted the Amiga, because I wanted to feel like it was a computer, because that one has a full, like, like a keyboard, a
Mhm.
mouse, and like in the tape, and you literally, it was cassette tapes, magnetic cassette tapes. That's how they were loading everything.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I
It was
wanted one
just
of those
crazy.
so bad.
Oh man! And then later, like when I got older, a little bit around like 19 or so, I found somebody selling an old Atom computer, even an earlier generation of an Amiga 64. Like seriously, same setup, but it was spinning. I think the discs. It was using discs on it. It was a weird. Like I enjoy tech to a certain point. That's why I like collecting tech. Um, I cannot wait to see what happens in the future. I seriously want to see
Mhm.
what our kids' future looks like when they look back and say, "I remember I used to play with an iPhone 12 or a Galaxy S," and I'm like, "Yeah, now it's implanted, right?" Johnny, is it Johnny Mnemonic? No,
Yeah, Johnny Mnemonic
it
was,
is the
yeah,
implant,
so
the built-in hard
yeah,
drive.
what I forget what in the movie he's got, like, gigabytes of storage
Yeah,
space.
yeah, it was
Like,
built-in storage, and he has to
okay.
make his mission so he can download the data. Otherwise, he's gonna fry his brain. It was,
Yeah.
I, yeah. Oh,
It
and we need RGB. I like Aditya. That's my line, Aditya. I like RGB.
so I kinda feel like, I hope in my lifetime we see, like a new version of Pokemon that is neural implant augmented reality just through our optic nerve.
Oh man.
And like we all get to play it the same in the same, we go to a park and you just throw your Pokeball and you're like, "Hey, let's fight." And, it's just it looks like it's a part of the same reality that we're in right now.
Did you hear that Tamagotchi, the little baby
Mhm.
Tamagotchi things now have built-in cameras?
No.
The new generation of a it was somehow on my feed. I don't know why Google thinks I like to read about Tamagotchis. Although I will say this much: Google knows how much I like Teslas, because literally like 90% of my feed now is
Is
on
Tesla stuff?
Tesla's. Yeah,
Nice.
and I need to start reading other things. I mean, I like my car, but I like to hear the news. But Tamagotchi released a small, somewhat similar form factor. I couldn't tell the size, mostly because of the way the image was done. He said, but now it has a built-in camera for taking selfies for kids. So yeah,
Oh, that's a
I'm kind of,
terrible idea.
you're supposed to take care of the little animal in there, or you're trying to grow it, help it.
Yeah,
What is a selfie has anything to do with this?
I
I
don't
don't.
get that at all. And again, I mean, like, I was sort of proud of me that, like, my daughter enjoys taking the odd selfie. Like, Marie will be like, "Oh, let's take a photo," and she'll be like, "Okay," and she'll like kind of cock a shoulder and she'll give us like a really
Enjoy
coquettish look.
enjoy that phase. I'll say this now.
But she's not
Few
super
years,
hyped up on that. And
yeah,
and
in
eventually,
few
I
years you're
feel
gonna get my son does the standard smile now. He has a standard stock smile. Like every time you ask him to smile, he's like, and I'm like, can you show
my
me a better
brother
one? Okay.
used to do that too.
Yeah, he's like,
Big time. So
oh,
so but what I very much appreciate about where my daughter's at right now, because she's not involved in social media to any direct degree, is like every time like my wife will pull out the phone, we want to take a selfie, she'll either do something kind of silly, which is cute,
mhm.
or she'll
Yeah.
try and take the phone so that she can go take photos of something else.
Hmm.
And you're like, yeah, I'm good with that. I don't need a selfie camera on a Tamagotchi. That's not my daughter's speed right now. I don't want to teach her that that's like everything about these mobile gadgets. I want her to go and look for other things to be interested in and to take photos of.
Like I said, the imagination. This is the perfect time to
Hmm.
let that flourish, let that grow, let that show in everything they do. But that's, like I said, that's the thing I appreciate. Like when Omar comes up to me and says, that looks like a good shot. And I look over and I'm like, crap, that is a good shot. How
That
did I
is a
miss
good
it?
shot.
That is a good shot. And it's his height also helps him because he gets to see it from a different angle, because it's always about the angle with the shot, right? It's when your eye catches it. So look, definitely, yeah. I would not. Actually, we already mentioned that he had his own Instagram account. So every time we go to, like, we went to the flower fields in Carlsbad. Was it last week or the spring break? And he was having a blast. Like, he was literally going like flowers. And it's an amazing place, by the way, if you guys ever get a chance to.
Yeah, I really want to go, especially for my penchant for, like, I need to go relax. Let me go take some macros of flowers out in my backyard.
Oh man, and the aroma, and it's right by the beach. It's Carlsbad. It's just, yeah, definitely. There's no question. But yeah, Omar, exactly. Yeah, Aditya's in there. Yeah, I think it's a fun thing. It's a fun thing. Like I said, I did want to mention though that I did get finally the Poco X3 Pro, which cool. I'm a little bit late on getting, so I'll be working on that in the next few days.
Yeah, I'm still trying to kind of wrap my brain around. I wrote a script today that I don't think I'm gonna shoot. I wanted to do kind of like this commentary on, because I've been very impressed with OnePlus 9. I mean, obviously, I've been spending a lot of my time on the 9 Pro, but I've been very impressed with OnePlus 9, and I've been very impressed with Mi 11, and I'm trying to sum up those thoughts. And I'm so tired of the kind of hack, like, way we would do a comparison. Is it really twice as much phone? And you're like, I feel like so much of this has missed the point. So I ended up writing like 2,500 words about, well, this is what you need to understand, and this is how we break these down, and this is also how, like, we've totally failed as reviewers to talk about stuff with any kind of, like, perspective. Because, like, well, if all you judge a phone by is this, like, lowest common denominator use, then really there's no point spending more than like $200 on a phone. There really isn't. And we're trying to cause FUD and FOMO, but at the same time, we're not really backing it up with better data. We're not really better instructing, like, this is a reason why you want that $1,000 phone. Instead, we're holding up the $1,000 phone and going, but how about average consumers? And you're like, that misses that completely misses the point. You are so off the pulse if that. So I might put it up just like on the Patreon as like just a script. Just this was what the video was gonna be. It has very little
like an audio, like an audio track. Yeah, when an artist releases an audio.
Oh, you know what? I should make it like a podcast of me doing a dramatic reading of a video that I will never make. But because like there is some like back and forth. I'm trying to compare it. I really am. But it's like every time I try to compare something here, it takes me down another rabbit hole of like, I've got to untangle all of this and explain so much of this perspective just to get back to a point where I can more confidently describe what's going on when we're talking about such a significant price difference. And it's frustrating because, like, so many of my videos devolve into media literacy issues anyway, that like there's a story on the Mi 11 Lite that I really want to tell, and I'm not sure how to tell it without making it a commentary on reviewers. And like that's not what I want to do, but I'm not sure how to make that without it.
I would definitely give it a listen if we was commented and narrated by Senor Bagnell. Definitely.
I might do a dramatic reading of a video you'll never see.
Exactly. And
love
and then,
one.
And love one. I like that. But I would definitely check it out. And hopefully tomorrow my T-Rex Pro video will go up.
Right on.
I already got
it's a great little.
It's a very, 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 very nice watch. Very capable. So much things you could do with it. It's crazy the amount of things you could do with this watch. And the app, like I said, seriously, if you've ever used Zepp as an app, I know the name may not sound as a lot, but it does have a lot of granular data. And they had a special actually going on with the T-Rex, if I wasn't mistaken, for like a good deal with that and the scale. The scale is actually not that expensive if you end up wanting to get like a smart scale. Amazfit does a really good job. And my wife always like, what is it doing? I said, it's measuring my heart rate. It's measuring my blood pressure. And my blood pressure, my O2 level. and also gives me the like the statistical data, is like how my weight is doing exactly as it is, and it syncs it up directly into my phone, and it keeps going. So it just there's a thing to be said for smart scale. So definitely very much.
I'm liking, watching some of these like watch and accessories manufacturers. It reminds me of some of the plays that we used to see from Withings back in the day.
Okay.
Only instead of it being like super expensive, ultra shishi or kind of bougie smart tech, it's like the prices have kind of finally fallen in line with what I think is actually like consumer reasonable. And same thing with Mobboy, like a couple $100 for a nice little fold up a home treadmill and a smart scale and other these devices. Like this is something that I'm a bit more excited about, seeing how this kind of stuff
we'll have to keep an eye on a lot more of that. I think Mavoy just released the GTH. That also is one of their but more budget friendly non-Wear OS running smartwatches, or fitness tracker, or I think it's a fitness tracker.
It's more fitness trackery, but it's got like more of that square.
Yeah. A lot of inspirations, I would say, but definitely a nice capable little one.
So you're doing T-Rex tomorrow, and then
T-Rex
Saturday morning tech.
Yes, so that's the plan, at least for the rest of this week. And then I'm actually, before I lose the ROG phone, the Red Magic 6, I'm working on putting a head-to-head, and I'm also going to include emulators this time between the two.
Ooh,
I had a request for emulators on the review, and I totally missed the ball on that one. They called me out on it, so I want to include emulators just because I feel like this is something that I feel like both should be able to do quite well. The ROG, the Red Magic 6 is definitely a very capable smartphone. It does get hot, there's no question. The cooling options that they provide I feel like while provide great cooling, like the air cooler that they gave me, they sent it over, dude, it dropped about 22 degrees drop in temperature, a surface temperature on the back. So I just measured the ambient, and then I measured it also again after running it for about a minute. So this thing can definitely provide some serious cooling, but you can't put it where the heat is. It sits in the middle of the phone. So
it's not lining up with like the hot.
But that's the thing. So the smartphone, most smartphones heat up around where the CPU is. The CPU is sitting closer to where the camera sensors are sitting, right? And they have their built-in cooling system that's already built in there to kind of release some of the heat. So you can't put this cooler on top of it, because then you're blocking the built-in cooler that kicks in when it needs itself. To me, it was such a good opportunity to help with the cooling, because I feel like I understand what they're trying to do, but it's sitting in the wrong spot. And if you measure the temperature anytime, like when your phone overheats, that middle area where that ice cooler or the dual cold cooler they call it. So I felt really weird about that. And then of course ROG does a similar thing, because they had there's clamps in the middle as well. So this is why I want to kind of push it with a little bit more on testing to see how emulators run. I want to see basically how just overall performance is done without the coolers. The coolers I feel like are nice.
Yeah,
I think Red Magic, for the price though, it's hard to beat. Seriously, like for what they offer for $699 for the Pro, it's crazy. It's cheaper than the entry level ROG Phone 5.
Yeah,
but so and I think they just got something. They're also releasing their watch, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I got a press release on that. I wasn't. It looked like another OnePlus.
It's another. Yeah, it's exactly
a clone.
Very much so. They released their Buds too, and I mean, it's a decent price, but we'll have to see. We'll see. Yeah, so that's for next week.
So
what are you working
on? I've got the two videos that I'm really lit up about. OnePlus 9, is it really crippled? Now, in that video, there's a game to play, and like I said, lots of people complaining about OIS, but not a lot of people actually playing the game. So if a OnePlus 9 camera is crippled, we should be able to see some pretty clear evidence of that camera being crippled. And then just today I put out the OnePlus 9 Pro camera conclusion.
I saw that.
And if you're on the Patreon, it's a 40-minute camera review for the OnePlus 9 Pro. But the biggie, those are the biggies. But the fun is tomorrow I'm kicking off something of an experiment. I don't know how this is going to play. I don't know if this has legs, but I've been preaching a lot about, get more use out of your phone. And I like to show off video editing, and I like to show, I mean, obviously we both play a lot of games on our phones. I mean, this is pretty accessible, but I wanted to start a series of phone challenges and challenging you to do something that maybe you've never tried to do on a phone. So tomorrow is going to be the very first phone challenge. And what I'm going to ask people to do is record a podcast about their experiences life during a pandemic.
Oh.
So either make it an interview or make it a podcast, something where you can kind of put down some of your thoughts on what it's been like to live in shelter in place or quarantine, or maybe you haven't been and you faced some other challenges.
No, exactly.
And I want you to document and to archive a piece of your history, a piece of your family's history. And you've got this amazing pocket computer with these incredible microphones. It's ready to go. Like you don't need to break out a laptop.
No,
you don't need to buy a handy recorder or a memo recorder or anything. It's right there. You already own it. I just want you to try to do something like this. So to sweeten the deal, not just to like make you record a podcast and then be like, haha, thanks, sucker. The folks at Rode are also hooking up one of their little mini Go mics.
Oh, nice.
So this is their video mic. They're going to be hooking up one as a giveaway. And so you guys get to hear about it first. Contest is going to go live tomorrow afternoon when the video goes live. And Rode is who, I mean, if you've ever done a contest like mine, it's obviously going to be a random draw. But if you only jump in the contest and like follow a social media channel, I'll give you an entry, like one entry. If you participate with the podcast, I think I'm going to set the entries there at like 500.
Oh, I like that.
So I really want to reward participation and the people that join our channels and really contribute and join these discussions. Absolutely. And our game to play. I want to see if people really play with this stuff. So again, follow me on Twitter.
We did. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say totally.
Follow Rode on Rode on Instagram. You're going to get 4 whole entries by doing the social medias. Record a podcast talking about your life and trying to kind of document your life in during the pandemic. 500. Well, I really want this mic to go to someone who's already interested in using what is actually a killer little portable mic.
Oh my God. It's like a leap forward in audio quality on any phone that you connect it to.
And especially when you use that little windsock.
Yes, absolutely.
It's so good for environmental noise.
Their vlogger kit, seriously, like that's the best part of the entire kit. But yeah, whoever wins that one, congratulations in advance, of course. And I'll definitely make sure to do the shares. And Matt Tyler just woke up. I love it.
Oh, and we're just getting ready to end the show too. But thank you for dropping by.
Yeah, definitely.
This is something that I'm hoping to do. I might not be able to do it every month, but what I want to do is set up a challenge and then also kind of reward participation for the challenge and look at ways that we can really talk about how to improve this. So like Michael Pepper Tech is asking what app would be comparable to LumaFusion on iOS on the Android side. And you're like, I cut most of my video in Power Director. KineMaster is really good. If you want something for free, the VN video editor, you have to deal with processing and like ads, like they've got banner ads. It's a great little video editor. It handles gigs really well. So again, there are all these opportunities where we can really expand on this. And then I'm preaching to the choir with the people that are here in this chat, but we've got this community of people that really do genuinely join a conversation. So what I'm excited to see, if I put out a call for podcasting from your phone, are people gonna like help in the comments? Someone's gonna come at this and be like, well, all I have is this crap memo recorder or voice notes. How can I do a podcast off of this? And you're like, well, your phone can use other apps. Here are some suggestions, or here are some things that you can try. That's what I want to try and foster, is that notion of, yeah, exactly. And like, it's not just I'm an expert in this and I dug through all the nooks and crannies and I'm going to talk about things that are going to be way outside your ability to do. Yep. It's no. You already bought the phone.
You already have everything.
Own the Pocket
You have
supercomputer.
everything you need. Exactly. And
It's
there are
already
options
there
that are free. Exactly.
So JGJ saying like maybe a quarterly contest, and so I kind of want to do that. I'm thinking about like I want to do something simple, you know, like writing some kind of document or writing some kind of piece or story from a phone. I want to look at, you know, obviously I want to do a video project, like make a movie with an action figure, you know, like I want to.
There's actually some great. You could definitely do some stop motion action movies with action figures like that. Yeah. Yep.
And it's so easy.
So easy, and it works on almost any phone. The apps are
But if you want my early pick, if you're on Android, if you're on iOS, like a few of these are a bit more accessible, like GarageBand totally makes sense. If you're on Android and you really want to put together a podcast, I'd highly recommend checking out Audio Evolution. That's the one that I show in a lot of my videos, and I love. Actually, when our podcast goes up to the audio, it almost always goes through Audio Evolution. I actually don't sit at my workstation. So TK pulls the link and I download it to my phone and I go, okay, snip, upload. And it's all there. I mean, like I get the notification on my phone. I download it on my phone. I edit it on my phone and it goes back up to the internet.
Why even? Oh my God. Does Pinecast have an app, or are you using the web browser to upload?
I'm just using the browser. It's great.
Even better.
You know what? It's even better on Firefox.
No, absolutely. And this is actually a great way I realize that we haven't really been talking too much about it, but if you guys do want to end up catching this on the replay later on at some point or another, we do have our podcast that has been, I think we've been doing it for the last 3, 5, 6 maybe episodes that we've been putting it up. I don't think we had them at the beginning, but we're definitely, we're flexing our muscles when it comes down to the podcast. And I think at some point we'll definitely put some more work once we're able to get things more customized.
Yeah, we've just got to get through a couple of life things over the next month, and then TK and I are going to sit down and talk about bumpers and music and polishing it all up. And the great thing is as soon as we decide on that stuff, I'm still going to do it from my phone because it's still so much faster.
And it is going to be a lot of fun. Definitely working on.
I mean, and I think I'm cranky when I need to open it takes too long to open the lid on a laptop. I'm there on my phone.
See, so for me, I don't have to do much because at the end of the show, I just literally wait about 5 minutes. Once it processes,
you just send it to
me. And I send you straight the file. That's literally. But we'll definitely catch you guys on hopefully another on next week's episode. Actually, this is what our second episode during Ramadan, so we have 2 more if I'm not mistaken, unless my calculations are wrong. But with that, I want to say first and foremost, thank you to Juan Carlos's family for being cool enough to allow me to intrude. And I, because this was a big, it was like, I can we make it earlier? So we'll definitely see how we get through next couple of weeks. Again, hope you guys are doing great. Take care of yourself. Obviously, make sure you check out Saturday. We're going to be with Saturday Morning with Tech, and of course Sunday we have the Across the Podcast with Matt and Senior Sam on Across the Pond, and of course SGGQA starting us off with the next week. Be safe. Take care of yourself. Thank you, Juan, for being with us. JGJ, Vince, Michael Peppertech, Aditya, Matt, Senor Tyler, Warzone God, Tyler. Oh, Adam is in there as well. Hey, man, how you doing?
Oh, hey, Tech Odyssey.
And then, of course, we have, Michael Peppertech. I think Dinesh was in there. Matthew was in there. Andrew Wallace was in there. There's a lot of people. Everybody. I hope El Jefe, of course. Jeff, cannot forget Jeff. Dang it, I didn't realize you guys were live. Yeah, it's okay, man. It's okay. But definitely catch us on the replay. The podcast should be up hopefully by tomorrow morning. And with that being said, we'll see you guys next week on another episode of the Best of Our Week with these 2 faces. Yeah, if you guys like us, we'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.
Bam.